So now we have a program that will calculate the cost of the coffees and the cost of the cakes, and you can see that I've done a bit of rearranging of the user interface. I'm now going to work on the report for my program. So in a Word document, I've written report Bob's Cafe, and then the first thing that I do is I write the program specification, where I just summarize what the program had to do. So I've said the program is about a cafe where you can buy coffee and cake, and the program lets you choose how many, and I might put how many of each, and then tells you how much you need to pay. The second part that I've put in is the design stage, where at the moment I'm just going to list the variables that I'm planning to use. So this is the diagram that I've been using throughout, where I'm showing what's happening in RAM, how many storage locations I need, and I might put in some examples of data. So that's £6.30. If I do 2 cakes, they were £3.50, so £7. Just move that down a bit. So I might give some examples of the data that would be held in these storage locations. The other thing that I should do at the design stage for the variables is I should specify the type of the variable. Now these are very specific programming words. We use the word integer to mean numbers that don't have any decimal part, any fractional part. So it's just what you might call a whole number, unlike this one that has a fraction, has a number after the decimal point. And those kinds of numbers are called real numbers, and sometimes they're called float or floating point numbers. So my number of cakes, that's also going to be an integer value, a number that doesn't have a fractional part, and the price is going to be like the price of the coffees. It's going to be a real number or a float. And the idea of data types is really important in computing. As you do more and more complicated programs, it's really useful to plan the data types that you're going to use. Right, so then the next thing that happens is I write the program, and that's called implementation. And for that, I'm just going to say the program has been written. Now I'm going to print out the code at some point, and that's called a structured listing. So I'll just put printout of code. So at some point I will print it out and attach it to the report, and as I say, that's just printing out the code, the structured listing. So just to recap, we've got our specification to say what the program is going to do. I've got my design where I plan the variables that I'm going to use, and I implement the program, which is where I actually write the code, and I'm going to print out the code as evidence. And I have 2 more stages. First of all, I need to work out some testing. Now there are 3 categories of testing. So the first category is just normal data. So I might say I'm going to have 3 coffees at, they were £2.10 each, and I'm going to have 2 cakes at £3.50 each. To the word each. Just going to make this a little bit bigger here. There. So this is just a sort of normal situation where I just type in a couple of regular numbers, And I get the calculator out and I actually work out what I would expect to have happen. So I would expect to have £6.30 for the coffees, and I would expect to have £7 for the cakes. And then I go to my program, so I'm just going to save my report and drop it down here, and I'm actually going to run the program with those particular numbers. So I'm going to say 3 coffees and 2 cakes, and lo and behold, it all works correctly. So what I'm going to do as evidence that it actually works, I'm going to use the snipping tool, and I'm going to just take a little picture of this. Let's just do the whole user interface, and then I can go into my report, and in my actual result I'm going to paste in that. Now obviously that's quite big, so I'm going to hold the shift key down, and that way it should resize proportionately. There. And that's the evidence of my actual result. So I'm showing that what I expected actually happened. I'm going to stop the video there, and you can go away and try some normal data and set up your report. So I'm just going to bring this back up here so that you can see the beginning of the report.